Hi, I'm Pete Kutzer with the Orvis Fly Fishing Schools. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about getting more distance in your cast. As fly fishers, or most of the fly fishers I see, they always want to cast a little bit further. I'm a big striper angler. I love striper fishing, and when I first started striper fishing, I always thought the further I can cast, the better, the more fish I'm going to catch. Well, I soon found out that that's not necessarily the case. An accurate cast is more important, but sometimes it is nice to make a little bit of a longer cast. When we make this longer cast, there's a couple things we have to do. The first thing we have to do is make sure we get a good cast. So we got to move that rod in a straight path and get a good stop. Then move that rod forward in a straight path and get it to stop. I like to say that straight path is kind of like this fly rod right here. It's almost as if you stopped at the rod tip and at the rod butt and you're traveling in that straight path. The tricky thing is there's a second straight path. We have to make sure that we're going straight back and straight forward. And as we make a longer cast, this straight path might get a little bit longer. We have to make a longer casting stroke. So when we're casting, we might have to bring that rod further back and further forward. We might come way back here and way out here. The tricky part with distance, though, is we have to make sure we stay in that straight path. If we deviate from that straight path at all and get a little twist, it's going to be amplified at that longer distance. So when we're casting, just think straight back, straight forward. As we make that longer cast, we might start making a longer casting stroke. We might come way back here, way out here. Me being so tall, having long arms, I kind of favor a longer casting stroke. Some folks that are a lot stronger, they like to load the rod or bend the rod a little bit more. We got to bend that rod a little more or load it more to make that longer cast. And that longer casting stroke for me helps me make a longer cast. So when I'm casting, I'm going to make a longer cast on the back cast, longer cast on the forward, or a longer stroke, on the forward cast. When you're casting, you want to make sure that you don't deviate from that straight path. I see this a lot, even with some very experienced casters. They have a tendency when they make their back cast, rather than going straight back, oh, that wasn't a very good cast, rather than going straight back and getting a nice tight loop, they have a little tendency to twist. Got stuck in the grass there. Let me see if I can pull that out. So let's try that again. They have a tendency to twist on their back cast. This little twist right here is a deviation from that straight path. Notice how that loop comes around from the side and it almost ends up here behind me. I got to keep that loop stacked right on top of itself, nice and tight, and that's going to help me make that longer cast. So when you're making this cast, notice how this casting stroke changes. As this line gets longer, I have to wait a little bit longer for that line to roll out behind me, okay? And that's my timing. All right, but when I start with a short line, I also want to make sure that I'm making a shorter casting stroke, shorter pause. And notice my short casting stroke, shorter line, shorter pause. Now watch how this cast changes as I make a longer cast. I'm going to start to shoot a little bit of line. On that forward cast, I'm shooting some line. Now I'm out to a longer length where I decide I want to start double hauling. Notice how my casting stroke is longer. Notice how my pause just got longer. My haul just got a little bit longer. Now I'm going to make that final cast and shoot that line out. I'm trying to do that in one smooth shot. Okay, I'm trying to make that cast nice and easy. If you try to really force that cast or haul as hard as you can potentially get a tailing loop. You might get that line to hit itself or get stuck in the grass like that right there. So watch again. I'm going to start with this shorter line. As that line extends, now I begin that haul. I got that longer line, longer casting stroke, longer pause. Now I want to shoot that line. Nice and easy. And that can help you get a little bit more distance when you're casting.